feeling stuck in a rut, trapped in a life that feels more like a sentence than a journey. Millions feel the same, toiling away at jobs they hate, drowning in debt, resigned to the belief that this is just life. But what if I told you that a radical shift, a complete turnaround from fear to unshakable confidence, could be yours in just 3 days? Sounds too good to be true. It's not. I've spent years researching and personally experiencing the transformative power of a simple, yet profound shift in perspective. The root of most of our fears, a blurry vision of what we truly want. Without a clear destination, our minds wander into a labyrinth of self-doubt, insecurity, and uncertainty. It's like stumbling around in a dark room, panic setting in as the shadows consume you. I know that feeling intimately. For years, I was adrift. I worked dead-end jobs, pure physical labor devoid of purpose, of any future. It was survival, plain and simple. Wake up, grind, barely scrape by, and go home feeling utterly unfulfilled, a daily dose of meaningless repetition. It's a soul-crushing emptiness many understand. Solomon said, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And he wasn't speaking metaphorically. It's brutally literal. Without a vision, the mind withers, and as the mind deteriorates, so does the body and the life it inhabits. I used to look at seemingly successful people and believe they possessed some inherent magic I lacked, that success was a lottery reserved for the lucky few. The truth, I hadn't learned how to paint the right picture in my mind. A pivotal moment arrived when I discovered a transformative truth. Our minds don't process words, they process images. Say car, and you don't see the word, you see a car. Say dog, and a canine instantly flashes in your mind's eye. But when it comes to our lives, our aspirations, most of us have a frustratingly fuzzy vision. A hazy picture is a recipe for confusion, for a mind unable to organize around an undefined goal. So I began consciously constructing vivid mental images. Initially, it was tough. I caught myself fixating on what I didn't want: debt, limitations, failures, the crippling fear of inadequacy. Ironically, the more I focused on what I feared, the more it manifested in my life. Ever notice that? When you're hyper-focused on not failing, that's precisely when you do. It's not chance. It's the mind materializing what you persistently dwell on. The breakthrough came when I reversed the process. I started projecting vibrant images of the life I wanted. I pictured myself confident, speaking publicly, helping others, traveling, thriving financially. At first it felt surreal, as though reality itself was screaming, "That's not you." But I persisted, understanding that I needed to reprogram my mind. And then, something extraordinary happened. My emotions shifted. I woke up with a sense of hope I'd never known, and this new emotion fueled my actions. Note, it wasn't money that birthed my confidence. It wasn't a sudden opportunity. It was the internal image I cultivated. This new image generated new emotions, and these emotions prompted unprecedented action. I began to move with more boldness, to take risks, to believe that striving was worthwhile. With each small action aligned with my new vision, my reality began to transform. This is how fear loses its power. By replacing mental chaos with a clear vision. Fear exists because we project flawed images of failure, rejection, and scarcity. Confidence emerges when you create internal images of success so potent they overshadow external obstacles. Suddenly, you're not a victim of circumstance, but its architect. How many times have you abandoned a goal because you couldn't visualize achieving it? How many opportunities have you missed because your self-image was small, limited, riddled with insecurity? This is where everything changes. The moment you create a new mental picture of who you desire to be, fear begins to dissipate, and confidence gradually takes its place. And the remarkable thing, anyone can do it. You don't need degrees, diplomas, or anyone's permission. You only need to decide which image you will nurture in your mind, because ultimately it's not reality that shapes our vision, but our vision that shapes reality. Fear is an illusion, self-created. It's not a tangible entity lurking outside, waiting to pounce. It's born from how we choose to interpret situations, fueled by the distorted images we hold within. When you imagine failure, rejection, or humiliation, your body reacts as if it were real. Your heart races, your stomach clenches, anxiety takes hold. Isn't it fascinating that our bodies respond more intensely to our self-created images than to reality itself? The connection is straightforward. Thoughts create emotions and emotions drive actions. It's a chain reaction. If I believe I'm incapable, I feel insecure, and insecurity leads to inaction or giving up at the first hurdle. The result? More failures, more justification for believing I'm truly incapable. A vicious cycle. I was once a prisoner of this pattern. How often have you woken up before even getting out of bed, with your mind already rehearsing every possible negative scenario? What if I can't pay my bills? What if that job interview bombs? What if this relationship ends badly? This constant replay of negative scenarios creates such intense fear, it paralyzes, and paralysis prevents us from taking actions that produce different outcomes. Here's the key. If thoughts generate emotions and emotions dictate actions, then by modifying our thoughts, we inevitably change our results. I started consciously applying this. When a thought of failure surfaced, I deliberately replaced it with an image of success. If the fear of not succeeding arose, I'd close my eyes and visualize myself having already succeeded. It seems simple, but that's precisely what makes the difference. The brain doesn't distinguish between imagined and real. It responds identically, and this isn't just my opinion. Science backs it up. Harvard researchers have shown that individuals who train their thoughts to be more positive are 3 times more likely to achieve their personal and financial goals. Why? Because these thoughts create feelings of confidence, generating bolder, more consistent and focused actions. Consistent actions yield greater results. It's not magic, it's cause and effect in action. I remember a pivotal decision that could have drastically altered my trajectory. Internally, fear whispered, "You're not capable, you'll fail." But I'd learned the simple rule, thoughts create emotions. So I sat down and started visualizing myself having already achieved the desired outcome. The more I reinforced that image, the more fear receded and confidence grew. When I finally made the decision and acted, everything unfolded far more naturally than I could have imagined. And you've likely experienced something similar. How many times, despite fear, have you forced yourself to act and realized the fear was far greater in your mind than in reality? That's the point. Fear is a consequence of poorly constructed mental images. But when you consciously choose the images you nurture, you begin to cultivate new emotions. These new emotions guide your actions toward a radically different outcome. So take a moment to reflect. What are you feeding your mind daily? What images do you project before sleep or upon waking? If they're images of fear, failure, and scarcity, you can't expect confidence or abundance. But if you begin to see yourself as victorious, confident, capable, you'll notice an immediate change in how you feel, a change that will inevitably reflect in your results. This is how you trade fear for confidence, not by directly combating fear, but by replacing its cause, incorrect thoughts and images. It's an internal process that manifests outwardly. Life doesn't respond to what you merely wish or dream of, but to what you project through your attitude. This realization was a turning point. For years, I believed the world was unfair, that opportunities were reserved for others, while changing tires, cleaning floors, doing work that demanded nothing beyond physical exertion. I nurtured an attitude of scarcity and limitation. And what did the world return? More scarcity, more limitation, more closed doors. I only understood that my life was a reflection of my inner world when I began to change how I viewed myself. The turning point didn't come from someone offering a miraculous opportunity. It came from a shift in my attitude. I decided to act as if achieving something greater were possible, even when my reality screamed otherwise. The results were astounding. Different people appeared. Unexpected opportunities arose. But none of it would have mattered if I hadn't first adjusted my internal perspective. Have you noticed how some people seem to possess a natural magnet for good things? No matter where they are, they always find a way to rise above, to smile, to see a solution. This isn't luck. It's a direct reflection of the attitude they choose to maintain. Think of Oprah Winfrey. She was born into incredibly unfavorable circumstances. lived in poverty, faced violence and rejection. Yet she maintained a growth mindset, a vision that she could transcend her circumstances. Her attitude enabled her to overcome every obstacle and become one of the most influential women in the world. The crucial question: what attitude are you projecting to the world today? It's pointless to expect life to be generous if you harbor internal distrust, fear, or pessimism. The world doesn't return what you verbally desire, but what you sustain with your energy. If you wake up daily believing something will go wrong, how can you expect things to flow smoothly? If you enter a meeting feeling inferior, how will anyone respect you? I recall a business meeting where I lacked experience and formal education and carried immense insecurity. But that day, I decided to change my attitude. I walked into that room as if I owned it, as if I'd already achieved everything I wanted. It wasn't arrogance, it was conviction. People's reactions were completely different. I realized they were merely reflecting the attitude I'd chosen to project. Current research shows our mental attitude influences even our body's physiological responses. People with positive attitudes release well-being hormones and exhibit greater resilience under stress. This explains why, when you adopt the persona of a confident individual, your energy changes, your body language changes, your voice changes. And all of this makes the world respond differently to you. You might be wondering, how do you change your attitude when life gives you no reason to? The answer is simple, albeit challenging. Change doesn't begin externally, but internally. When you act as if you are already worthy of respect, prosperity, and achievement, your attitude aligns with that vision. Gradually, the world begins to reflect precisely what you've planted. It's like looking in a mirror. If you smile, the reflection smiles. If you close yourself off, the reflection does the same. Life is that mirror. When you cultivate an attitude of confidence and abundance, it inevitably returns those same things. So, if life feels difficult, the question isn't, why is this happening to me? But, what attitude am I projecting that's causing this to return to me? The most important point: you don't need to wait for everything to change to adopt a new posture. You can start now in this very moment by deciding to be bigger than your circumstances. The world doesn't react to what you passively expect. It reacts to what you actively transmit through your attitude. And when that internal shift happens, nothing external can prevent the inevitable reflection of that transformation. Most people make a seemingly insignificant yet devastating mistake. They look at their current results and believe those define who they are and what they can achieve. Their bank balance, medical report, or relationship status become perceived as perfect reflections of their future. But the truth is, these results are mere reflections of past thoughts and emotions. It's like looking at a star. The light you see left the star long ago and doesn't accurately represent its current state. I experienced this intensely. There was a time when my bank account was dismal, and every time I checked it, it felt like a cruel confirmation of a life of limitations. I believed it proved my worthlessness. Consequently, my actions were weak, timid, and limited, a cycle that only dug me deeper, until I realized something fundamental. I no longer needed to let my current results control my thinking. If I continued to accept that reflection as absolute truth, I'd remain trapped in the same reality forever. The shift came when I decided to start my first cleaning business. Think about it. I had no formal education, no business experience, nothing but a vision and a new attitude. But when I stopped focusing on what I lacked and started concentrating on the image of what I wanted to build, something extraordinary happened. In less than a year, that business generated over $100,000, a fortune for someone who'd lived in scarcity. It wasn't a miracle. It was the consequence of no longer allowing present results to dictate my thoughts about the future. How many times have you looked at your salary, your debts, the size of your bank account, and let that define what you believe is possible? How many times has a medical test determined not only your physical health, but also your hope? How many times have you looked at a lack of opportunities and concluded life had nothing in store for you? This is the trap that ensnares most people. They let the past shape the future. Modern science confirms this. Psychological research shows that when people cling to present results, their ability to create new possibilities dramatically diminishes. The brain becomes stuck in survival mode, unable to see alternatives. Conversely, when you mentally project a different future and begin to feel the emotion associated with that image, the brain activates areas linked to motivation and creativity, paving the way for new actions and results. I remember sitting in an empty room, staring at mounting bills. Anyone would have concluded there was no solution. But that day I refused to accept that those papers would define my life. I closed my eyes and visualized the abundance I wanted. I saw myself thriving, helping people, traveling, free from worry. That image evoked such a strong emotion that when I opened my eyes I felt the energy and courage to act. And it was that action, fueled by a different vision, that started to change everything. Here's the crucial understanding. Present results hold no power over you unless you allow them to. They're merely records of who you were, not who you can be. When you break free from that prison and decide to create a new image, life begins to respond differently. Money starts appearing in unexpected places, relationships transform, opportunities emerge, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you changed how you think and act within it. So if you feel trapped by circumstances, choose to no longer let your current results dictate your thoughts. The future isn't in the numbers on your bank statement, the papers on your desk, or yesterday's reflection. The future is in the image you choose to maintain now, in the present. Confidence isn't a gift bestowed upon some at birth and withheld from others. It's built, molded, and strengthened through the repetition of habits anyone can adopt. I learned that confidence doesn't arrive suddenly, like a bolt of lightning. It's born from the daily practice of seeing yourself as already being what you desire. It's an exercise that seems too simple to be taken seriously, which is precisely why most ignore it. Yet within it lies the power of transformation. I discovered that when you act as if you've already achieved what you desire, your body and mind begin to work in harmony with this new reality. The brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So when you write, repeat, and feel that you are already the person you dream of being, something within you begins to shift. Your posture changes, your energy changes, your actions change, and naturally the results that appear around you change as well. That's why I created a simple yet powerful 3-day challenge. Each morning, write a single sentence. I am already the person I desire to be. Write it as an undeniable fact, not a distant wish. And throughout the day, behave accordingly. If you wrote that you're already prosperous, act prosperous. If you wrote you're already healthy, act healthy. Want to unlock your full potential? Stop waiting for confidence to magically appear. Become confident. It might seem like faking it until you make it, but that's a misconception. Your future, confident self already exists within you. It's just waiting to break free. Think of it like an actor mastering a role. At first it feels forced, but with practice it becomes second nature. I've personally experienced this countless times. Remember that crippling stage fright before my first public speech? The self-doubt screamed I'd forget everything, bomb spectacularly, and become a laughingstock. But I used this powerful technique. For days I mentally rehearsed, repeating, I am a confident speaker, my words inspire. Initially it felt ridiculous, even comical, but I persevered. When I stepped on stage, something shifted. The confidence wasn't from the audience or circumstances. It came from within, forged through relentless mental repetition. Science backs this up. Studies show that repeated mental exercises, practiced for just a few days, rewire your brain. Try it for 3 days. You'll notice a significant shift in your emotional state, a newfound clarity and a surge of assertive energy. This renewed energy will change how people respond to you. Imagine the results after 3 days. Now imagine making it a habit. Your life will transform irrevocably. Once solidified, confidence alters your perspective on challenges, your relationships, and the world's response to you. Fear might still arise, but it won't hold the same power. You'll have built a solid foundation, starting with something seemingly insignificant. A daily affirmation, lived as truth. It's simple, direct, yet incredibly effective, replacing the weight of fear with the lightness of self-assurance in days. Many fail to grasp this inevitable outcome. What we reap is a direct consequence of what we sow, in thoughts, emotions, and actions. This was a hard lesson for me. I initially believed life changed solely through wishing for change. But life doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to action. I've seen people sabotage relationships, miss opportunities, and compromise their health, not due to lack of skill, but a persistent negative mindset, a fog obscuring their brilliance. Conversely, I've seen less intelligent or prepared individuals achieve extraordinary feats simply through self-belief and decisive action. The world doesn't discriminate based on merit. It reflects what we project onto it. Consider Steve Jobs. He faced setbacks, rejection, even from the company he founded. Yet his unwavering confidence propelled him forward. Every failure fueled his next move. He believed in the interconnectedness of things, even without apparent reason. This wasn't naivete, it was a choice. He chose to believe, and his actions mirrored that certainty. The result, one of the world's largest corporations. Think of the talented individuals, brimming with knowledge and brilliant ideas, yet failing to progress. They nurture doubt, fear, and insecurity, manifesting in their words, actions, and decisions. They don't project confidence, so they don't attract it. Without self-confidence, talent becomes invisible. I remember my early teaching days. I questioned my impact at times, but every doubt reminded me of the inevitability of results. If I maintained the image of confidence, it would reflect back, and it did. In lectures and meetings, people responded to the energy I exuded, beyond the content itself. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. I still felt the butterflies, heard the voice of failure, but I didn't let it dictate my actions. Confidence steered my actions, not fear. Each time I reinforced my sense of control. Research suggests over 80% of people regret what they didn't do out of fear. Uncertainty paralyzes most, while the few who act, even without guarantees, achieve extraordinary results. The choice is yours. Continue reinforcing self-doubt or choose a new path. With self-confidence, the result is inevitable. Life reorganizes, people appear, paths open, opportunities emerge, not by chance, but by your changed attitude. The world reacts to your posture. Fear breeds limitation. Confidence generates possibilities. This is an inherent law of life. Understanding that confidence precedes results, not the other way around, reveals the power you hold. The outcome is inevitable, but the decision is yours. A simple mental shift transforms fear into confidence in just days. It's just the beginning of your evolution. In our next video, we'll climb another step on your wisdom ladder, becoming a little better. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video as we continue this journey together.